All right. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Finally, I think, finally, got it. Man, let me make sure I got audio. Just give me some time. Give me some time, family. Give me some time. All right. Greetings to all. Greetings to all. Halito. There we go. There we go. Let me know if you guys could hear me. All right. All right. We're about to set this off for real, for real. There we go. All right. Cool. Yeah, we got audio. Perfect. All right. So we good to go, man. I just want to apologize for the tardiness. Actually, you know what? It's not my fault. I had everything ready to go, and for some reason, what you call it, Google Hangouts will not allow me to go live, and it was very, 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 very irritating, or frustrating rather. But you know what? I'm not gonna let that mess up my vibe. You feel me? Because we good. All right. So this is like a part two. Once again, greetings to each and every one of you. I hope you guys you're having a great day so far. I mean, my day has been splendid, really blissful. So I'm thankful for that. But so much is going on, man. In the spiritual realm that it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Let me just fix this. Give me a second here. This is beautiful, isn't it? But I have a lot to share with you guys, man. We're gonna go over some information. I want to give thanks to one of the brothers that was on the chat yesterday. And I actually agreed with him, but however, I have to clarify that I have actually used UNDRIP and ADRIP, okay, in a lot of documents, especially dealing with citations, tickets. That I have actually used UNDRIP and ADRIP, okay, in a lot. Yeah, I've used, like I was saying, I've used UNDRIP, ADRIP in a lot of documents, and it has done me well. But like the brother was saying, and I totally agree with him, that they are not legally binding. All right. So he actually shared some information in the chat yesterday, yesterday, and I pulled them up. So we're gonna go over a few of them. I haven't put it in the description below just yet, only because I was having problems with Hangout. So I had to make sure that, you know what I mean, I get this thing popping. But we good. So I got a lot of information to share with you guys. Apart from that, man, let me just start off by saying giving thanks and acknowledgement to the Great Spirit. Some people may say God, some people may say Allah, some people may say Buddha, Zeus, whatever you want to call, the universal source or the universal intelligence. I'm saying it's only one. Okay, people just have all these different names, but I say Great Spirit. Okay, and that's why I acknowledge, and I definitely love to take the time out to let my ancestors know that I honor and I appreciate them. I love them, because what most people don't realize is that every religion, okay, know that there is only one source. Okay, there is only one great intelligence. There's only one Most High. However, they have all these different names, and what they have done in their own religion, they picked an entity, okay, where the only connection to that so-called God is through that entity. All right. Typical example in the Christian faith. In the Christian faith, the only way to get to your God is through Jesus. So if you happen to miss Jesus, or don't know anything about Jesus, or you come to find that Jesus never existed, then what? That means you have no connection to the Most High. So to me, that's a little ludicrous. You feel me? But however, I know that my ancestors existed, and I'm going to reiterate every single time. Okay, my mother has a mother and father. All right, her father and her mother's, I mean her parents had parents. Their parents had parents. My father had parents. Their parents had parents, until we go back all the way to the source. So I know that's a direct link to the Great Spirit. Going back into antiquity, going back into time immemorial, I know I could call into all those ancestors who came before me. That is the umbilical cord. Okay, so I am revine. Okay, I am not divine, because to divine means that you are disconnected. You see, they have people so messed up in religion, it's not even funny. Okay, so I am not divine. If you have a grape, and I'm gonna give you a typical example, right? If this is chestnut, right? Back in the islands, we call it bread nut, all right? But let's just say this is a grapevine tree, right? With grapes and everything. If you divine the grape, what does that mean? It means that the grapes are actually being disconnected from the tree, from the vine. So why would I want to be divine? Why would I call the Most High divine? Okay, that means I'm disconnecting the Most High from my spirit, from my being. So no, I gotta stay connected. I gotta stay vine. You feel me? So you have to be very mindful of those words and the terms that you're using, because you're casting spells every single day. All right, that is the English language for you. You feel me? So, but this is not about religion. I just wanted to point that out. So, with that being said, we got to honor our mothers and fathers, each and everyone who came before us. All right. They taught us that everything we did, us calling out to our ancestors, their spirits, they talk about that was pagan. But yet still, they took that culture or that ritual from us and they practice it in their own religion. Okay. Back in the days when, what you call it, what's his name, King James, when King James was going around killing all the witches, those were our ancestors that they were killing. They were not witches, they were just practicing our culture. Those were rituals. Even before King James wrote the Bible, the 1611, he wrote a book called Demonology, and that's when he was going around killing and murdering witches, only because they were practicing their cultures. But they like to turn everything that we do, everything that we know, everything that we used to uplift ourselves, every ritual that we used to connect ourselves to our ancestors and to the spiritual realm, they call it pagan. But little do you know, that's exactly what they're using against us today to keep us in these spells. So we have to go back to our ancestral ways. Okay, it's important that we do. And man, y'all better learn some stuff. I'll tell y'all that if y'all know what's good for y'all. All right. So anyway, let's get into this, man. Let's get into this. So I'm gonna share. Let me see if one of my brothers. I'm gonna see if he's able to get on. Let me let him know real quick. Give me a second. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go over the American Declaration. And once again, I want to give thanks to the brother yesterday that point out some of the declarations that are actually binding, meaning that the United States are obligated, it's law, okay? It's a covenant that they have to abide by. So I'm going to go through a few of those, and at the ending of when the conclusion of the live feed, I'm going to put those in the link below so you'll have that information. You feel what I'm saying? So we'll make it happen. All right. He said he'll be able to get on. Cool. So I will put the link in the chat, and you can come on. All right, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna start with the American Declaration. Okay, when Donald Trump got into office, Donald Trump, one of the first bills that he wanted to pass was to kind of like detach himself from the UN. So what he did was, even if Obama adopted on DRIP in 2007, what Donald Trump did was they actually not Donald Trump. They realized that that was one of the agendas of Donald Trump. So they wanted to give us our own declaration called the American Declaration. Okay. Now, with that being said, the American Declaration was created by OAS, Organization of American States. That means the whole of the Caribbeans, okay, South and Central America. They are all part of what's called OAS, Organization of American States. So for all you Caribbean people in the West Indies that don't think you are actually American, you are American Aborigines. Remember when we were in school, they called us Amerindians, okay? All they did was they just put American Indian together and make it one word, Amerindians, while here in the United States, they say American Indian. But in the Caribbean, when I was in school, they put that together and say we are Amerindians. So the point I'm trying to make is we are all one children, okay? Or one people rather, with one mother, which is the American continent, all right? But they have separated us. So it's time for us to come back, unite, all right? It's time for the Aboriginals of this land to rise. You feel me? So we're gonna start with the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, okay? And once again, this I have used many times in courts and notices, and it has done me well, all right? But it's not legally binding, that's true, but I approached it more so from a man perspective, okay? I am man first. I always like to state that I am a man. That means no one has authority over me but the Creator, all right? And when you approach it that way, you give them a hell of a problem in court, believe me, okay? So we're gonna go through a lot of information this evening. So please, if you're gonna take notes, do that, but let's get this thing popping, all right? Let me share my screen because I don't wanna waste any more time than I already had dealing with this Hangouts, okay? So this is the document right here. Let me just get on my phone and make sure that you guys, I'm seeing what you guys are seeing. Okay. Here we are. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to read the entire thing. Okay, I'm just going to read some of the articles. However, I will put all that in the link after the video. All right. That was adopted in 2016. This is recent. All right. It's recent, June 15th, 2016, American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. The General Assembly, recalling the contents of resolution, draft American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as all the previous resolutions on this issue, okay? We're gonna go straight to the declarations. We're gonna go to Article 1. We're gonna get right into it, just for time's sake. But like I said, after the video is done, after the live, I will put all that information in the link for you below so you'll have it at your disposal, okay? Now, American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People Preamble. The member states of Organization of America, State of American States, hereinafter the states, all right, this is OAS, and actually I had called the OAS and I spoke to the director. As a matter of fact, he's of Mexican origin. And because of my frustration with the way that our people are being dealt with in the United States, I called them. And he, even the director, he himself was a little bit, bothered. He was upset because he said that the United States is not honoring the declaration, but they are pushing and they are fighting so that it will be honored and it will be actually respected and be implemented more into all those different individual states. So I actually called him a few months ago, and he was on vacation and they told me to call back. So I'm going to call him again and see how we could take this and pass this through legislation so that every state could honor that, all right? Honor the rights of us indigenous people right here in the United States and across the Americas, okay? That the right of indigenous people are both essential and of historic significance to the present and future of the Americas, okay? The Americas. And for people who keep thinking that the United States is America, the United States is not America, okay? The United States is just a country, all right? And I'm being very generous here, all right? The United States is a country in the Americas, just like Canada, Mexico, Jamaica, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Antigua, Barbados, St. Vincent, Grenada, Haiti, Dominican Republic, St. Thomas, St. Vincent, St. Croix, all those countries in the Caribbean, South and Central, that's all America. All right. So by birthright and pedigree, we are original Americans. You feel me? All right. The important presence in the Americas of indigenous peoples and the immense contribution to development, plurality, and cultural diversity, and reiterating our commitment to their economic and social well-being, as well as the obligation to respect their rights and cultural identity. And that the exercise of indigenous cultures and peoples of the America is important to humanity, and reaffirming the indigenous peoples are original, diverse societies with their own identities that form an integral part of the Americas. Once again, you hear that? Peoples are original, diverse, okay, with our own identities. So therefore, hence the term self-determination. We have a right to self-identify, okay? Concerned that indigenous peoples have suffered from historic injustices as a result of inter alia, and like I told y'all before yesterday, inter alia means and others, okay? Their colonization and disposition of their lands, territories, and resources, thus preventing them from exercising, in particular, their right to development in accordance with their own needs and interests. Now, I'm not going to read all that, even if it's not a lot for time's sake. So we're going to go straight into the articles. We're going to go into Article 1. I think this one only has about 17 or 20 something. So I'll make an attempt to go through as much as I can. But I will put it in the link below so that you guys could have it. You could, learn it, teach it to your children, let them know that they are actually indigenous to the Americas. All right. Section 1, Indigenous People, Scope and Application. Article 1. 1. The American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People applies to indigenous peoples of the Americas. Okay, so if you consider yourself to be indigenous, all right, then this declaration applies to you. Number 2, self-identification as indigenous peoples will be a fundamental criteria for determining whom the declaration applies. So as you could see in the very essence of what they are saying is that self-identification. Okay, so this applies to indigenous people. However, they are not the ones making the determination as to who is indigenous or who is not. You have to decide who you are and what you are. So once again, 2 states that self-identification as indigenous peoples will be a fundamental criteria for determining to whom this declaration applies. The state shall respect the right to such self-identification on indigenous individually or collectively in keeping with the practice and institutions of each indigenous people. Now, all right, if we use UNDRIP and they say, whoa, we don't have to honor UNDRIP. Well, guess what? OAS, Organization of American States, gave us our own declaration. Now, whether you deem it legal binding or not, it is still a document that was created, and we are going to force them to honor it. All right, we are going to force them to honor it. And every state, it says that every state, the state shall respect the right to such identification as indigenous. So if you have a situation and you say you're indigenous, they have to respect that. Now, with that being said, I'm not asking any one of you to go out there and to be in dishonor. Okay, don't go out there hurting people, defrauding people, damaging people's property, and then claim that you're indigenous and think that you're going to be immune. Okay, that is not what this is for. This is not why I'm teaching these things. I am teaching you the information for those of us who are in honor, who walk in light, but we are still being disrespected. We are not getting the opportunity to self-determine. Okay, we are being forced to assimilate. So that's why I'm teaching the information, not so that you could abuse the system. Okay, because like I tell people every single day, we need the police for people who don't know how to act, because there are people out there that love taking advantage. They go around hurting people, they go around damaging people's property, and by all means, some form of law has to be in place. So I'm not against the police being here. I only have a problem when the police don't respect people who are not breaking the law. They don't respect people who are identifying as who they are and still disrespecting them. That's the problem that I have with the police and the system. Okay? Article 2. The states recognize and respect the multicultural and multilingual character of the indigenous peoples who are an integral part of their societies. 3. Indigenous people have the right to self-determination. We already know what that means, self-governance. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their what? Political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Okay? So we have every right to open up businesses, indigenous businesses. We have every right to do so. All right? And we have to hold them liable. Make sure that we make sure that this declaration becomes a lawful binding document. So it's up to us to put pressure on them. And that's another reason why I'm bringing these documents to your attention. All right? Article 4. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, people, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act contrary to the Charter of the Organization of American States and the Charter of the United Nations, or construed as authorizing or encouraging any action which would dismember or impair totally or in part the territorial integrity or political unity of sovereign and independent states. And I agree, that's only fair. Okay, if as the indigenous people, if they're going to honor us as indigenous people, then we have a right to respect their societies as well. Granted that it's on our land, okay, still, if they are going to respect and honor us, then we are going to do the same. Okay, but it has to be known that this is our land and we are going to demand the respect as the original people of this land. Okay, Article 5, full effect and observance of human rights. Indigenous peoples and persons have the right to full enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms as recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, the Charter of the Organization of American States, and international human rights law. You guys have to get familiar with that. Article 6, collective rights. Indigenous people have collective rights that are indispensable. Okay, indispensable, meaning that they cannot get rid of it. Okay, for their existence, well-being, and integral development as peoples. In this regard, the states recognize and respect the right of indigenous peoples to their collective action, to their judicial, social, political, and economic systems or institutions, to their own cultures, to profess and practice their spiritual beliefs, to use their own tongues and languages, and to their lands, territories, and resources. States shall promote with the full and effective participation of indigenous peoples the harmonious coexistence of rights and systems of the different population groups and cultures. Okay, so they are saying that the states have an obligation to work with us. All right, and that's what we are stepping up and we are demanding of them. We are not asking, we are demanding of you to respect our rights. Article 7, gender equality. 1, indigenous women have the right to what? Recognition, protection, and enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms provided in international law, free of all forms of discrimination. So therefore, if you see an indigenous sister is being abused by some official and she said that she's indigenous and she's not being respected, then you have a right to protect her. Okay, that's in the declaration. Indigenous women have the right to what? Recognition and protection. Number 2, states recognize that violence against indigenous peoples and persons, particularly women, hinders or nullifies the enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms. Number 3, states shall adopt the necessary measures in conjunction with indigenous peoples, meaning that they have to work together with us to prevent and eradicate all forms of violence and discrimination. Not some forms of violence, not some form of discrimination, but all, totality. Okay, so there's no exception to violence or discrimination against we, the indigenous people, particularly against indigenous women and children. Article 8, right to belong to the indigenous peoples. Indigenous persons and communities have the right to belong to one or more indigenous peoples in accordance accordance with the identity, traditions, customs, and systems of belonging of each people. No discrimination of any kind may arise from the exercise of such right. For typical example, a lot of us, a lot of our tribe, our clans and families kind of mixed in. So some of us may have Shata, some of us may have Blackfoot, some of us may have Lilo Lenape, some of us may have Anionwia, okay, Lumbi, and we say, okay, you know what? I don't just want to claim one. I want to be a member of both my mother and my father's side, paternal and maternal. There is nothing wrong with that because we are exactly who our parents are. So you are within your rights to identify as that as well. Article 9, judicial personality. The states shall recognize fully the juridical personality of indigenous peoples, respecting indigenous forms of what? Organizations, and promoting the full exercise of the rights recognized in this declaration. Article 10, rejection of assimilation. This is key. Number 1, indigenous people have the right to maintain, express, and freely develop their cultural identity in all respects, free from any external attempt at assimilation. Okay, so any external, all right, hindrance to prevent us from identifying who we are culturally, okay, that goes against the declaration and it goes against human rights. They are not supposed to force us to assimilate into their societies if we don't choose to, okay? So just so you know. Number 2, the states shall not carry out, adopt, support, or favor any policy to assimilate the indigenous peoples or to destroy their culture. So no states under any circumstances, they're not supposed to carry out or adopt or support or even favor any policy, all right, that has any type of inclination that's going to force indigenous people to assimilate or to destroy our cultures. Article 11, protection against genocide. Indigenous people have the right not to be subjected to any form of genocide or attempt to exterminate them. All right. When you are telling us that we cannot, put our documents on record so that we could update our status in your system, that is a form of genocide. It's called paper genocide. Okay. When you are telling me that I cannot say that I'm an Indian, then that's a form of genocide. When you're telling me that I cannot say I'm indigenous, that's a form of genocide. Okay? Promoting homosexuality is a form of genocide in our culture because a man and a man cannot produce. So that means you're preventing our lineage from moving forward into its posterity. That's a form of genocide. And that's something nobody want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it eventually. Okay? I'm going to talk about it. I mean, yes, you have a right to do what you want and be who you want, but it still doesn't mean that it's productive to who we are as a people, because that means you're trying to stop our growth. You're trying to stop our race from moving forward by promoting this agenda. It is not part of our culture. Okay? Article 12, guarantees against racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and other related forms of intolerance. Now, you may know what racism is. You know what racial discrimination is. Xenophobia, you might not have heard of that word, but all it means that is one race being afraid, not necessarily afraid, but the fear of another race, taking over their societies, all right? So it's just pretty much the fear of one race taking over the other. In essence, in layman's term, that's what xenophobia means, all right? Indigenous peoples have the right to not to be subject to racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and other related forms of intolerance. The state shall adopt the preventive and corrective measures necessary for the full and effective protection of this right. Section 3, cultural identity. Article 13, right to cultural identity and integrity. 1, indigenous people have the right to their own cultural identity and integrity and to their cultural heritage, both tangible and intangible. All right. What that means is if you proclaim or you make a claim that something is part of our heritage, whether it's something that they could see, meaning that something they could see or touch that's being tangible, or something that is intangible, something as a spiritual belief or a culture or a ritual, okay, then they have to respect that, okay, including historic and ancestral heritage, and to the protection, preservation, maintenance, and development of that cultural heritage for their collective community and that of their members, and so as to transmit that heritage to future generations. Number two, state shall provide redress. Redress is kind of like almost another word for reparations, but redress is pretty much to pay, okay, compensation rather, through effective mechanisms, which may include restitution developed in conjunction with indigenous peoples with respect to their cultural, intellectual, religious, and spiritual property taken without their free, prior, and informed consent, or in violation of their laws, traditions, and customs. All right, so we're gonna do a build soon on how to resurrect your tribes. Okay, I'm gonna do a build on that. I'm gonna guide you guys through some of the processes that you could take to build your tribes. All right, guide you on to how to form your constitution, how to create your seal, how to create your flag. So we have a lot of great bills coming up. All right, so and then your laws would be instilled in your constitution and your bylaws. Okay, so we are going to do a few bills on that as well. Number three, indigenous people have the right to the recognition and respect for all their ways of life, worldview, spirituality, uses and customs, norms and traditions, forms of social, economic, and political organization, forms of transmission of knowledge, institutions, practices, beliefs, values, dress, and languages, recognizing their interrelationship as elaborated in this declaration. 14, systems of knowledge, language, and communication. All right, I don't see, let me just check something out real quick. All right, so you guys are with me. That's beautiful. Good, good, good. We here. All right, guys, just making sure that, you know, we hear everybody's good. All right, that's a beautiful thing. All right, good. Number one, indigenous people have the right to preserve, use, develop, revitalize, and transmit to future generations their own histories, languages, oral traditions. Once again, that key word right there, oral traditions, because a lot of our traditions were not written down. And even if it was written down, it was either destroyed, it was taken away. So a lot of us are actually running into a block when we are trying to do our genealogy. For some reason, everybody's having that situation. We cannot pass a certain time period. But like I always say, please do not be in despair, because we had a very rich oral tradition. As you could see in the video that I did with the elder, he spoke of some of those oral traditions. So some of the things that you could do is get in touch with your elders, whether it may be a cousin, a family friend, and record the conversation. All right, have them tell you your story, what your grandmother said, what your great-grandfather said. And what you need to do is record that. Okay, record it. And that is admissible in court because we had a very rich oral tradition. So for those of you who cannot go past a certain time period, then please don't stress yourself, because nobody else is asking Europeans to prove that they're Americans. Nobody's asking these natives to prove that they are the Indians. Okay, everybody just assumes that they are Americans and they are the original people. So why are they asking us to prove things? We ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. They know who we are. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's about time we start asking them to prove who they are. Okay, it is time we start holding them accountable. It's time for us to start flipping the tables around. Okay, because they know damn well we are the original Americans. I'm going to read that again. Number one, indigenous peoples have the right to preserve, use, develop, revitalize, and transmit to future generations their own histories, languages, oral traditions, philosophies, system of knowledge, writings, and literature, and to designate and maintain their own names for their communities, individuals, and places. So I don't see why aren't we coming together, getting land, and open up our own communities. We have every right to do that and give it our own indigenous names. I hope you guys are seeing the vision here. Okay? I'm a visionist. I bring things to reality. I make things manifest. All right? I don't just talk. I do this all day. And I walk the walk. I'm in the streets doing it. We had a very powerful meeting today. I'm not going to say what it was on YouTube, but I will give you guys a little bit of insight and some of the things that you can do to be a part of it, because this is not about me. It's about us. Okay? There is no I in us. It's us together. We walk together. We rise together. We have fallen together, so we're going to rise together, and we ain't falling no more. This is our time. Number 2, the state shall adopt adequate and effective measures to protect the rights, the exercise of this right with the full and effective participation of indigenous people. So therefore, when they are making decisions, we need to have our representatives at the table. Okay? We should be tired of decisions being made that's affecting our lives, and we are not at the table to rebuttal, to veto, or to support those decisions. Okay? Brothers and sisters, there's a reason why they say the pen is mightier than the sword. Because you see, it's the pen that's controlling our lives. Because once they put it on paper, then all of a sudden it becomes law. No, it's only law when we say it's law. Because a law cannot exist without the people. Number 3, indigenous peoples. Now, they didn't say indigenous blacks. They didn't say indigenous African Americans. They didn't say indigenous niggers, peoples. What's in the Constitution? The preamble, we the people. So you guys have to peep the game. Stay focused. Stay with me here. Okay? Free your mind. The revolution is in your mind. It's not a physical thing. Once you have free your mind, believe me, okay? Once you have revolutionized your mind from that mental slavery, then I promise you, things will just change. Okay? Things will change just like that. Number 3, indigenous peoples have the right to promote and develop all their systems and media of communication, including their own radio and television programs, and to have equal access to all other means of communication and information. So why don't we have a platform on Fox? Why don't we have a platform on CNN? Why don't we have a platform on all those television networks? It is because we are not united enough. We are not standing up, and we are not making these people, we are not holding these people accountable. Okay? Where are our indigenous schools at? Where are our indigenous community centers? But I promise you, I'm going to open up one. Okay? I am. I'm speaking that out. I'm putting it out there in the universe, and it's going to happen before the summer is out. Okay? The state shall take measure to promote the broadcast of radio and television programs in indigenous languages, particularly in the areas with an indigenous presence. Okay? The state shall support and facilitate the creation of indigenous radio and television stations, as well as other means of information and communication. So you need to put pressure on your legislative branch in your state. Okay? Get a group of people, come together. We are indigenous, and those are some of the things that you are obligated to do, and we want to make sure that we get them. Okay? Brothers and sisters, there are opportunities out there for us as indigenous people, but we have to first identify as who we are. Okay? They're not going to give it to you. They're not going to tell you, because they already have people in our places usurping our identity, getting those benefits, and monies are being passed under the table. Okay? These Negroes don't know who they are. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take those grants. We're going to take what's coming to them. Just give me my cut and we good. All right? At some point, we have to take responsibility for the positions that we are in, the struggle that we are going through, the suffrage that we are going through. We have to take responsibility at some point. Okay? Number 4, States in conjunction with indigenous peoples shall make efforts to ensure that those peoples can understand and be understood in their languages in administrative, political, and judicial proceedings where necessary through the provision of interpretation or by other effective means. I strongly urge you guys that if you know what tribes that you come from, learn the language, teach our children the languages. So when we start writing documents and contracts, then we do it in our languages, okay? Not in English. This is a very, English is Babel, okay? It's Babel. It's a bunch of words that mean a lot of things in different venues. But we are gonna write our documents, our treaties, our proclamations in our indigenous language. So we have a lot of work to do. Article 15, education. 1. Indigenous people and individuals, particularly indigenous children, have the right to all levels and forms of education without discrimination. Number 2, states and indigenous peoples, in keeping with the principle of equality of opportunity, shall promote the reduction of disparities in education between indigenous and non-indigenous children. This is straightforward, but it's just saying that the opportunities across the board should be an equal thing, all right? The same education that a non-indigenous child is getting, an indigenous child should have that same privilege as well. And we know for the most part, there's a huge disparity in terms of educational systems, okay? Number 3, indigenous people have the right to establish and control their what? Educational systems and institutions. What is that telling you? As an indigenous man or woman, we have the right to teach our children. We have a right to homeschool. We have a right to open our own indigenous schools, okay? But when you're Black or African American, you don't have that right because you don't exist. You have no rights. I have to keep pounding that in your heads. Okay? Providing education in their own languages in a manner appropriate to their cultural methods of teaching and learning. Number 4, in conjunction with indigenous peoples, the state shall take effective measures to ensure that indigenous persons living outside their communities, particularly children, may have access to education in their own languages and cultures. Number 5, state shall promote harmonious intercultural relations, ensuring that the curricula of state educational systems reflect the pluricultural and multilingual nature of their societies and encourage respect for and knowledge of the different indigenous cultures. Now, how many schools that's in your neighborhoods that's teaching our indigenous culture? They don't do that because all they do is teach our children for, you see, here's the thing, all right? This is what they do. Our entire existence begins with slavery. That's what they're teaching our children, all right? Even if we, let's just say, hypothetically, we were from Africa. Even in Africa, they're teaching that we were running around in dirt and, eating mud and no food to eat. At some point, you're trying to tell me that we never had any great civilizations? That's what they're teaching our children, okay? So when they teach our children these things, how do you think, or what type of self-esteem are our children going to have? That's why you have a lot of Negropeans running around. What is a Negropean? A Negropean is a Negro who don't know who he is, okay, but living as a European, okay? And I'm talking about in every aspect of his or her life. That's a Negropean. All the ideologies of the colonizers, their ways, their mannerisms, their customs, their practices, their bad behaviors, all their immoral ways. That's a Negropean. And we have a whole lot of those running around because they don't know who they are, thinking that they're going to be accepted. They're not going to accept you. They use you because they need your energy. Okay? They need your energy. They don't care about you. Do you think back in the days when these foreigners, these colonizers slept with our women, do you think because they cared about our women? No. It was for a couple of reasons. Number one, okay, it was a fantasy. Our women were considered to be exotic. That chocolate, brown, copper complexion, that waist. How dare the original woman? She's something to die for. Huh? They wanted that experience. It was a fantasy. They didn't honor and respect their women. But then it became a political thing when they realized that we had a matriarchal system, and if they married into our culture, then that means politically, legally, and lawfully, they had rights to the land. Now, y'all peep the game? Again, if you go back and listen to that video that I did with that dude from the Cherokee Nation, he told you what? His grandmother was what? Dark skinned. And if she permed her hair, she would look like one of the black people in Oklahoma. So what is he telling you? Right there, he is admitting that the original people were dark skinned. But then their fathers had to marry. Remember, their fathers were the founding fathers. They had to marry our women to get rights to the land. So now when that child was born, a mulatto, that mulatto was taught to hate the mother, okay, who's dark skinned, don't have an appreciation for her, but go marry somebody who's pure Caucasian. And then that was done for a few generations. And now those are the people you have here calling themselves American Indians. When the truth of the matter is they're not honoring their mothers and fathers. So because of that system and that practice and that culture that was developed, our women started having this type of inferior complex. Okay? Their children, their mulatto children, was hating them. So they had to find ways to seek for some attention from men that don't look like them. Okay? Because those children were the ones that was accepted in society. So you even have so-called black women out here these days telling their children, hey, don't marry or don't have children with somebody as dark as you or dark as me. The lighter the better, the whiter the better. And that's people, a lot of our people are hurt. Mental disease. Our people need healing. So all this teaching and building, that is part of the healing process. We have to learn each other again. We have to love each other again. We have to build each other. Okay? Know that we were the first. We became the last, and we will be the first again. Our women shouldn't have to be in the streets, being prostitutes and going around selling their butts. No. They are the mothers of civilization. There should be more respect for them, but they don't know who they are. But anyway, states shall, in conjunction with indigenous peoples, promote intercultural education that reflects the worldview, histories, languages, knowledge, values, cultures, practices, and ways of life of those people. 6. States in conjunction with indigenous peoples shall adopt necessary and effective measures to ensure the exercise and observance of these rights. 16. Indigenous spirituality. Okay. 1. Indigenous peoples have the right to freely exercise their own what? Spirituality and beliefs. Okay. Because that's what we practice. We practice the essence of spirituality. We didn't have a big religious belief or a religious system because it was all about spirituality. What does that mean? It means that we had a symbiotic relationship with nature. We found the Most High, the Creator, the Great Spirit in everything. Our ancestors spoke to trees. They heard the trees. Our ancestors heard the water talk. Our ancestors spoke to animals while animals communicated with them. Our ancestors literally, even in a rock, people might look at a rock and think a rock doesn't have any energy or life. Our ancestors understood those things because they knew how to what? Be still and realize that we are everything and everything is us. You see, that is spirituality. But religion teaches you that the only time that you exist, the only time that you can get salvation is if you drink another man's blood and eat another man's body. That is cannibalism. But yet still they're telling you everything we practice is pagan. Come on, man, the hypocrisy of religion. How are you going to tell me go drink a man's blood? I don't know who that man is. As a matter of fact, the man he's not even related to me. He's not my ancestor. Why the hell do I want to drink his blood? And eat his body? What type of stuff is that? And they're told, oh, well, it's not literal. Well, I don't care if it's literal or not. I'm not doing it. Period. So we have to bring back our spiritual traditions and our beliefs by virtue of that right to practice, develop, transmit, and teach their traditions, customs, and ceremonies, and to carry them out in public and in private, individually and collectively. So if I'm walking in the middle, okay, of, let's just say I'm in New York, if I'm walking in the middle of 42nd Street, you know, with my sage and doing my rituals, they can't do a damn thing about it. That is part of my culture, okay? You cannot tell me to move. You cannot give me a ticket because I'm going to tell you, take your paved road and put back the damn tree that was there when your ancestors came. Don't ask me to move. Take your paved roads. Take that. Take your street lights. Give me back my trees. You are the one infringing on our rights. We're not infringing on yours. This is our home. Absolutely. Tell the truth and shame the devil. You feel me? Number two, no indigenous people or person shall be what? Subject to pressures or impositions or any other type of coercive measures that impair or limit their right to freely exercise their indigenous spirituality and beliefs. Okay? Natural herbs, what they call marijuana, is indigenous to us. Why is so many Aboriginal men and women in jail for roaches? Because you know why? Because they don't know who they are. Number one, they call themselves black, they call themselves African Americans. Number two, they say that they're smoking marijuana, which is a patent word. You, like I told y'all before, you are not getting arrested or going to jail because you are smoking herb. You go to jail because you are smoking a patent word named marijuana without their permission. But when you are indigenous, okay, that is an herb. It's part of our culture. Our ancestors, they stood in a circle or they sat in a circle and they puff, puff, pass. Okay? I don't smoke only because I don't know where this weed come from nowadays. I don't want to walk around crazy talking to myself. But when I start growing my own, believe me, I will drink it as a tea and I will smoke it in ceremonial settings. Okay? But I'm not going to do it just for pleasure, just because I could smoke. I'm not going to smoke up my temple like that. And a lot of you need to stop that behavior. It is not spiritually wealthy. Just because our ancestors used to do it, they never abused it. And a lot of y'all are actually abusing it. Okay? It was done for a purpose with intent. Okay? To manifest things. To take yourself to a certain level. To pull things out of the spiritual realm. You feel me? But a lot of y'all do it to get the munchies or to go to sleep. All right? Those are not the right reasons for doing it. Anyway, let us proceed. 3, indigenous peoples have the right to preserve, protect, and access their sacred sites, including their burial grounds, to use and control their sacred objects, relics, and to recover their human remains. Number 4, states in conjunction with indigenous people shall adopt effective measures to promote respect for indigenous spirituality and beliefs, and to protect the integrity of symbols, practices, ceremonies, expressions, and spiritual protocols of indigenous people in accordance with international law. Not just by the declaration, but international law, brothers and sisters. Okay? If you are in your yard, okay, and you are actually in a circle, and you are actually doing a ceremony of smoking herb, all right, that is a ceremony. That could be a spiritual protocol. You see, it's how you articulate yourself. That's why our people are getting in trouble. People perish for the lack of knowledge. Okay? Keep that in mind. Article 17. Indigenous family. 1. The family is a natural and fundamental group unit of society. Indigenous people have the right to preserve, maintain, and promote their own family systems. Okay? We have a right to promote our own family systems. States shall recognize, respect, and protect the various indigenous forms of family, in particular the extended family, as well as the forms of what? Matrimonial union, filiations, descent, and family name. In all cases, gender and generational equity shall be recognized and respected. 2. In matters relating to custody, adoption, severance of family ties, and related matters, the best interest of the child shall be a primary consideration. In determining the best interest of the child, courts and other relevant institutions shall take into account the right of every indigenous child in community with the member of his or her people to enjoy his or her own culture, to profess and practice his or her own religion, or to use his or her own language, and in the regard shall look to the indigenous law. You hear that? Look to the indigenous law. Where is our indigenous laws? Concerned and shall consider their points of views, rights, and interests, including the positions of individuals, the family, and the community. So once again, community means to commune, okay? Come together. It takes a village to raise a child. We have to go back to that concept again, okay? There is no way, that whole thing about women talking, oh, I don't need a man. I'm a single mother. I'm the mother and daddy. Shut the hell up. You cannot be the mother and father at the same time, okay? Y'all are going against nature. I don't care what you tell me. Yes, it's unfortunate that a lot of fathers are not around for whatever reasons. I'm not making excuses for them because our men need to step up as well. But don't get it misconstrued, okay? There are a whole lot more. I guarantee you it's less than 10% of our men that are deadbeat dads. But you see, they keep promoting that. They will never promote the fathers. Okay, like many of you that's on this feed, like me, they will never promote that. Okay, because they want they want the world to look at the so-called black man as useless in America. Okay, he has no value. He's a thug. He's a criminal. So when they shoot us in the street, guess what? The world is already desensitized as to when things happen to us because we are deemed menace to society. Ring a bell? Does that ring a bell? You see, is the projection of the images that they tell the world and show the world about us. That's why the world has no respect for us. A couple of reasons. Number one, they know who we are and we don't know who we are. So one, they don't have no respect for us. Okay? But the constant derogatory way that the media is portraying us, that's another reason why they have no respect for us. So we as a people, as a distinct people, okay, we have every right to pick ourselves up and change our image amongst ourselves first. I don't give a damn what the world think about me, okay? Let us learn to love each other again. What matters to me is how we see ourselves. When I see my sister, I see an empress. When I see my sister, I see a deity. When I see my brother, I see a deity. I see a king. And in want of a better word, I see a God. Okay? That's how we're supposed to see ourselves. Uplift each other with words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with what? The Most High, and the Word became what? Flesh. So every time you speak high vibrational words to your brother or sister, what do? You upgrade them. What the hell does Beyonce know about upgrading Jay-Z with money? That's not an upgrade. That's a physical upgrade, but it's a spiritual downgrade. Okay? But y'all caught up in the distractions and the media. Let me upgrade you. What the hell you know about upgrading people? Huh? Any type of physical upgrade, okay, without the spiritual aspect of it is dead. Because the flesh is dead. The flesh is filled with flaws. Upgrade me spiritually. I don't care how fat your booty is. I don't care how perky your nipples are. Okay, if we cannot sit and have a conversation and meditate and elevate each other mentally, man, you could keep your fattest to yourself. I don't want it. And I'm not going to apologize for being so blunt, because too many of our women walking around here, you know, trying to impress men with their booty. No. What's in your mind, woman? What's in your mind? Same thing with brothers. You walking around here with trying to flash and impress sisters. No. Yes, they're looking for opportunities, but that's not going to last. It's not going to last. Where is the essence? Where is the value? Where is the quality? Too many people are looking for quantity opposed to quality. If me and her cannot sit and meditate and pull things out of the spiritual realm, then I don't want you. But that's just me. Article 18, health. 1. Indigenous people have the collective and individual right to the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of physical, mental, and spiritual health. Okay, that is a very, very essential part of this declaration. Even without the declaration, we need to focus on this mental and spiritual aspect of our lives. Okay, our people are suffering, our people are hurting, and the system is not helping us anyway. Okay, all we have is ourselves, my indigenous brothers and sisters. All we have is us. Okay, we have to learn to love us. We have to learn to protect us. It's that simple. When you see a sister disrespecting herself, she needs help with her children, step in. I don't care if it's one day you say, sis, listen, I know you've been busting your ass. Give me the children for the weekend. Go have a good time. If you're a brother and you see a brother, he's not in his children's life, talk to him. Hey, King, let me talk to you for a minute. Those are your seeds, man. They need you. Okay? You don't know how to be a father? Let me show you, man. We got to stop taking our men to court. Our men got to stop taking our women to court. We got to stop that, man. This is not part of our culture. And we keep talking about we aborigines and we indigenous. No. When we had situations, we went to the council and the clan mothers dealt with the situation. We had our own system. We didn't need no foreigners. We didn't need no immigrants. Come on, man. Can y'all handle truth? Because I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. Number 3, states shall take measures to prevent and prohibit indigenous peoples and individuals from being subject to research programs, biological or medical experimentation, as well as sterilization without their prior, free, and informed consent. Typical example, vaccinations. If you are indigenous, you don't have to take their vaccinations if you don't want to. That is against our spiritual culture and our spiritual beliefs. Okay, it's against our religious beliefs because we didn't have these vaccinations before y'all came here poisoning our land. Likewise, indigenous peoples and persons have the right as appropriate to access their own data, medical records, and documentation of research conducted by individuals and public and private institutions. 4, indigenous peoples have the right to use without any discrimination whatsoever all health and medical care institutions and services accessible to the general population. So that means if the general population is using any type of medical or health center or institution, or they have healthcare, we as indigenous people shouldn't have to revert to being your citizens to get what's due to us like everybody else. We could still be indigenous and get what's due to us. Okay? Period. States in consultation and coordination with indigenous people shall promote intercultural systems or practices in the medical and health services provided in indigenous communities, including training of indigenous technical and professional healthcare personnel. What does that mean? Okay, we are an organic people. We have natural herbs. Why don't we have hospitals, okay, who have both systems? One where you deal with indigenous people and anybody else who want to deal with natural herbs, okay? And then you have people who want to deal with their, you know, their pharmaceutical herbs. But it's only fair that we indigenous people have an outlet to our indigenous remedies, our herbal remedies. So why aren't we putting pressure on our local state and government so that we could implement those things? Brothers and sisters, if we don't take the responsibility for our own lives, our own health, our own economic growth, okay, our own spiritual practices, if we don't take responsibility for that, they are not going to do it for us, okay? Because it is not in their best interest, okay, to acknowledge us as indigenous people or teach us that we are indigenous. Can you imagine if all of us knew we were Aborigines and we had our own medical facilities where we had our own natural herbs? Let me ask you a question. How much money would the pharmaceutical industry be making? They would probably try to do the same thing they did with indigenous Wall Street. I'm not going to call it Black Wall Street because my ancestors were not black. It was indigenous, okay? Indigenous Wall Street. What do you think they would try to do? The same thing, try to burn it down. But we are not going to go for that anymore, okay? Number 5, states shall guarantee the effective exercise of the rights contained in this article. Now, I'm not going to go into, you know, I'm not going to read the entire thing because, like I said, we have a lot of work to do. So please, I know we're on a roll right now, so please forgive me for not continuing, you know, this. Okay, I'm going to stop here, but I am going to put that in all the links. I'm going to put it in all the links below because we have another 5 or 6 documents to go through. I'm just going to touch on each and every one of them, okay, so that at least there's an introduction to it. All right. So this is the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. It was adopted in 2016, which is quite recent. So I think that we as the indigenous people, we should put ourselves in a position where we make this legally and lawfully binding. All right. So we have to step up. All right. So let us go to another document. And once again, I would like for you to do your due diligence once those documents are actually in the link. All right. Study them, learn them, use them, teach them to your children. Okay. So let us go to my email here real quick and pull a couple of documents out. I know I have some documents I emailed to myself. All right. It's okay. I'm showing you guys my inbox, but we're going to click on the first documents. I have 7 attachments. We are going to run through those attachments real quick. All right. So this is something I came across when I was doing some research. Okay. I don't know how many people know about it, but like I tell people, all right, I'm not a master teacher. I'm a master student. I love to learn. That's what I do. I read all day. I study. I build because I know how much work it takes to do what I'm doing and what others like me are doing. You guys have no idea. All right. So when people support, you know, by giving donations, it means a lot. And with that being said, you know, you could hit the super chat and show your appreciation. You know what I'm saying? Again, you know, that's what we're supposed to do. I'm giving unto you, you give unto me, and others like me as well. All right, because that's our livelihood, and that's what we are doing. We're bringing the information to you. So I came across this document, American Declaration on the Rights of Duties of Man. The truth of the matter is, I had never heard of this before yesterday, and I got to give thanks to, I'm not sure, one of the brothers that was on there. He was saying that, you know, on drip and a drip is not legally binding, and he had posted some links. And because of the links he posted, I did some research and I came across this. So I just want to thank him, give you know, honor and respect where it's due. All right. So thank you for that. All right. I'm assuming it was a brother. Okay. If it wasn't, then my apologies. So it's American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man, adopted by the 9th International Conference of American States, Bogota, Colombia, 1948. Whereas the American peoples, okay, it says American peoples. If you are not one of the people, you have no rights, family. Okay, black people have no rights. Okay, African American have no rights. They only have privileges. When you're one of the people, that's when the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all those declarations, all those things apply to you. Okay, laws apply to you. But when you are enligus, meaning that you're not a natural person, you only have privileges, and you are always dealt with under the color of law. It appears to be law, but it's not law. It is of law, but it's not law. Just like how legal is of law, but legal is not law. Okay? Whereas the American people have acknowledged the dignity of the individual, and their national constitutions recognize that judicial and political institutions which regulate life in human society have as their principal aim the protection of the essential rights of man and the creation of circumstances that will permit him to achieve spiritual and material progress and attain happiness. Because you see, those things I use in court as a man, and I always whoop their butt, because I let them know that no one has authority over me except my creator. All right. The American states have on repeated occasions recognized that the essential rights of man are not derived from the fact that he is a national of a certain state, but are based upon what? Attributes of his human what? Personality. That deals with spirituality. Okay. So your unalienable rights is not determined by any state, any entity, any corporation. Okay, but it's solely based on your attributes of what? Your human personality. That came from the Most High. It came from the Creator. Okay? So when you are exercising and you are proclaiming those rights, they have no control over you. But you have to know how to articulate yourself, and you have to live that life. Okay? It's a lifestyle. All right? The international protection of the rights of man should be the principal guide of an evolving American law. You hear that? American law. The affirmation of essential human rights by the American states, together with the guarantees given by the internal regiments of the state established in the initial system of protection, considered by the American states as being suited to the present social and judicial conditions, not without a recognition on their part that they should increasingly strengthen the system in the international field as conditions become more favorable. The Ninth International Conference of American States. You see, once you start looking at yourself and identifying yourself as a man or a woman, indigenous, now it becomes international. All right. When you are black and African American, you are a nigger, you put yourself in a box. Okay. You are in a prison, and people in prison, they get to be controlled. All right. So I have to keep stressing that. American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man, preamble. All men are born free and equal. So if I'm a man, okay, and it says that in this preamble and declaration, then you have a right to respect me in the dignity and in rights, and being endowed by nature with reason and conscience, they should conduct themselves as brothers one to another. All right. The fulfillment of duty by each individual is a prerequisite to the rights of all. Rights and duties are interrelated in every social and political activity of man. While rights exalt individual liberty, duties express the dignity of that liberty. All right. So chapter 1, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Okay. Article 1, every human being has the right, okay, to life, liberty, and the security of his person. And on the right side, they just give a synopsis of the article. Right to life, liberty, personal security. Article 2, all persons are equal before the law and have the rights and duties established in this declaration without distinction as to race, sex, language, creed, or any other factor. That is right to equality before the law. Article 3, every person has the right freely to profess a religious faith and to manifest the practice both in public and private. Rights to religious freedom and worship. Article 4, every person has the right to freedom of investigation, of opinion, and of the expression and dissemination of ideas by any medium whatsoever. And the synopsis is right to freedom of investigation, opinion, expression, and dissemination. Okay, Article 5, every person has the right to the protection of law against abusive attacks upon his honor, his reputation, and his private and family life. Okay, right to protection of honor. So if somebody is taking away your honor by defaming you, okay, by defaming your character, then you have a right to sue. Okay, that's the law. Article 6, every person has the right to establish a family, the basic element of society, and to receive protection thereof. Article 7, all women during pregnancy and nursing period and all children have the right to special protection, care, and aid. Article 8, every person has the right to fix his residence within the territory of his state of which he is a national, to move about freely without such territory and not to leave it except by his own will. You have a right to move freely. So why do they have tolls? Okay, why do they have tolls? That's not moving freely. Brothers and sisters, I hope you are seeing where I'm going with this. Okay? But anyway, I'm going to put that in the link below so that you will be able to read it yourself. Okay, I'm just giving you guys an introduction to the documents, and you could read it yourself and digest it yourself, apply it yourself, make it applicable to your life. Okay, and that's what you got to do. All right, put the pressure on them when they're violating your rights. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Let us go to the next one. Okay, the next one is the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, which is the acronym is ICCPR. And the brother had posted that in the link yesterday. So again, I just want to say much gratitude. All right. So we're just going to read a little bit on that. It's 26 pages. We're not going to read the entire thing. However, let us look at the preamble. All right. That was the entity. It was entry into force March 23rd. All right, which is my Earth Day, March 23rd, and that's March 1976. Preamble: the states parties to the present covenant. It's a covenant. Okay, it's a covenant. All right. All right, it's a covenant. Now, for those of you who don't know what covenant means, okay, covenant is literally a contract. It's an obligation. All right, but just for studying's sake, let us go look at what covenant means, because we want to make sure when we study and we have a true understanding. And I would applaud you when you actually go over those things and you study them. Look at the definition of the words. Okay, covenant, because in legal definitions things mean different. So a covenant is an agreement. Agree by lease, a deed, or a legal contract. A covenant is a contract. Okay, so those are some of the documents that are actually legally binding. Okay, so once you combine those documents with UNDRIP, American Declaration, House Resolution 331, okay, the Declaration on Man, the one I just read, and now we have this one right here. Once you start combining those together and you start slapping it in their faces, I'm telling you, it's a problem. Okay, so now we know covenant is a contract, an agreement. Okay, so this is a lawful binding document. Considering that, in accordance with the principles proclaimed in the Charter of the United Nations, and just so you know, the United States is also under the United Nations, recognition of the inherent dignity and of equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, peace in the world. Recognizing that these rights derive from the inherent dignity of human person. All right. Now let us look at this word right here, once again, we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what we are actually reading. Pace. Okay. Let us look at it. Inalienable. Let us hear the sound.
Inalienable.
Inalienable. All right. Which means unable to be what? Taken away from or given away by the possessor. All right. I'm going to read that again. As a man or a woman, as the people, this is the right that you have. Okay. Let us hear the pronunciation again.
Inalienable.
Inalienable. All right. Which means unable to be taken away from, or given away by the possessor. So once you have identified yourself as a man or a woman, that is the highest status on the planet. Okay? Everything is actually beneath you that's created by man, because the creation cannot rule the creator, and man is the creator of all those entities, including the government. But you see, they have to put you in a box where they give you all these different identities. Oh, check one. But you don't see anything that you actually are. So now you have to pick one, and then they give you the final option, which is other. So when you click other, then they assume what the other means. That's a trap. Okay? If I were to fill out any form of application, what I would do is I'm not going to click other. If there's nothing that identifies who I identify with, I'm going to create my own box. I am going to create my own box. So I'm going to create a box, and I'm going to check the box and put right next to it either Kalinago or Anianwea. Or if I want to be general, Aboriginal American or American Aboriginal or American Indian, I will create my own box. But I'm not going to allow you to put me in a box. No, I will not do that. So that's what it means. Rights that cannot be taken away or given away by the possessor. Even if you want to give it away, once you claim that you're a man, they cannot trick you into giving up your rights, or a woman. Okay? Now, recognizing that in accordance with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the ideal of free human beings enjoying civil and political freedom and freedom from fear and want can only be achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his civil and political rights as well as his economic, social, and cultural rights. So we could go all the way down. We go to part 1, article 1. We're just going to read some of these articles. Like I told y'all before, I'm going to, after the video, I'm going to put all that stuff in. It's going to be in the link below, so you have it, so that you could study it, learn it, and apply it. Okay? Number 1, article 1. All peoples have the right, again, of what? Self-determination. And this is actually binding. So you could take that to court and whoop butt. Okay? By the virtue of that right, they freely determine their what? Political status. Black is a political status. It means you are dead. And freely pursue their what? Economic, social, and cultural development. So therefore, economic development. If I choose to put a lemonade stand in front of my yard and people come support me, okay, that is my right. But I'm not going to sell anything, okay? I'm going to barter. Hey, I got lemonade. You want a glass of lemonade? Well, there's a minimum donation. I'm not going to say pay this or pay that, because when you pay for anything and people pay you, that means you have to pay taxes. But when they donate to you, if it's under a certain amount, then it is tax free. So everything is in the language, all right? Everything is knowing how to apply yourself, how to make it applicable to your life. Now, I'm not saying that so that it would be done with the intention of, defrauding the government. So let me just make my disclaimer, all right? But however, as indigenous people or as a man or a woman, you have a right to pursue your economic development, all right? So I just wanted to make that clear. Number 2, all peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation based upon principle of mutual benefit and international law. In no case may a people be deprived of its own means of sustenance. You see what I'm saying? So You cannot be deprived of your way of life. As long as you're not hurting people, as long as you're not harming people, as long as you're not depriving people, you have a right to be self-sustained. Okay? Number three, the states parties to the present covenant, again, it's an agreement, it's a contract. Brothers and sisters, this is legally binding. Use it. Shall promote the realization of the right of self, what? Determination. So if I'm telling you I'm American Indian, how are you going to tell me that I'm not? That is against the law. That's a lawsuit. It's discrimination. Okay? And shall respect that right in conformity with the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations. All right? So once again, man, we could go through all this, but again, for time's sake, I'm going to put that in the description. I'm just going to do an introduction of all those declarations and covenants for you so that you will have them, you'll get familiar with them, know how to read them, look at the legal definitions of these words, make sure that it resonates with your spirit so you're able to use them. Okay, let us go to the next one. Okay, the next one, the Bill of Rights. Okay, the Bill of Rights only apply to people. To people. Now, we don't have to read the intro of the Bill of Rights. We're going to go straight to it. But on September 25th, 1789, Congress transmitted to the state legislature 12 proposed amendments to the Constitution. Numbers 3 through 12 were adopted by the states to become the what? The United States Bill of Rights, effective December 15th, 1791. So we're going to go straight to the First Amendment. Well, number one, freedom of religion, speech, and press, rights of assembly and petition. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, of abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So if the government have done us wrong, like they have, okay, we have a right to seek redress. But like I told y'all before, black people cannot get reparations because they don't exist. But their head is so hard. They just want to be a color. I don't get it. Maybe y'all could explain that to me sometime. But you know what? Sometimes it feels like, I don't know. But anyway, let me continue. Amendment 2, right to bear arms. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. The right of what? The people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So it is your right to bear arms. You don't need a license to bear arms. That's your right. However, when you are black or African American or a nigger, you have no rights. You are not the people. It says the people. Okay? The people. That is the problem with my people. They are a stiff-necked people. They want to be a color. They want to be African American. They want to be niggers. That's why these things don't apply to you. We have a right to form what? A well-regulated militia. And who's going to regulate it? We are. We make the rules. Okay? Being necessary to the security of the free state. Why do you think they have militias going down by Mexico, protecting the border? At least that's what they say. Do any of them look like us? No. So how come we're the original people of the land and we don't have a militia? And that is actually in the Constitution. It's Amendment 2 of the Constitution. You have a right to bear arms. But you see, the unity, we are lacking the togetherness. And that's why everybody's able to infiltrate us. That's why everybody's able to abuse our rights. Okay, take away our rights and give us privileges and then charge for it. That is actually unconstitutional. Okay? That means your rights are being infringed upon. You get it. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the entire Bill of Rights. I will also put that in the link below. I'm just giving you guys introductions just to open up your mind. Some of you may know the information. Some of you may know, may not. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give you the information. I know they are watching. Let them watch. because I'm not teaching anything that's not public. It's public information, and my people have a right to know, the same way other ethnic groups have a right to know. It is our responsibility as indigenous people to teach each other, to uplift each other. So I'm just playing my role, uplifting my fellow men and women. Okay, I'm here to do the Creator's work. I'm not here to do the man's work. I'm here on behalf of the Most High and my ancestors, period. All right? So this is 34 pages long. We're not going to read anything. This is prior debt, national supremacy, and oaths of office. Okay, all these people, they have oaths of office. All right. I'm just gonna, let me see. I just wanted to read something from here, but that's gonna be in the link below as well, so you guys could go through it. But I think there was something that caught my attention. Again, when I was doing research, I came across that, because that's all I do is research. You know what I mean? I stay well studied. Engagement constitution shall be valid against the United States under the Constitution as under the Constitution. All debts contracted and engagement entered into before the adoption of the Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution. All right. Prior debts. Number 2 clause. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made. All right. So here we go. This is what I wanted to show you guys right here. Okay. Clause 2. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be what? The supreme law of the land. So all the treaties that were made before our ancestors, that is the supreme law of the land. Okay? And the judges in every state shall what? Be bound thereby. Bound. Anything in the constitutional laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. All right, let us go look at the definition of bound, because we want to make sure that we have a true understanding of what we are reading. Okay, bound. 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 It says, let me see, Sparks. Bound. Okay, let me put legal definition. All right. Bound legal definition. All right. In law of shipping, bound to abound or denotes the vessel spoken. Okay, that is something else. Let us look what other people are asking. To be legally bound. There we go. Common law phrase indicating that an agreement has been consciously made and certain actions are now either required or prohibited. The other requirement for the agreement or contract to be considered legally binding is consideration. Both parties must knowingly understand what they are agreeing to. So with that being said, bound means that it is binding. Okay, it is binding, that the treaties are the laws of the land. All right. So now we have what? The national supremacy, Marshall interpretation of the national supremacy clause, although the Supreme Court had held prior to Marshall's appointment to the bench that the supremacy clause rendered null and void a state constitutional or statutory provision which was inconsistent with a treaty executed. So anyway, you could read that for yourself, digest it. They're citing certain case laws. So it's a lot of beautiful information, a lot of court cases that you could cite in your documents and your notices. I'm just talking about family study to show yourself improve. All right, let us go to the next one, because like I said, we got a few more to go. I know it's getting late, so I want to conclude in a few. And this is what? Adding teeth. And then I found that, okay, again, thanks to the brother for just pointing, I ran into that as well. Adding teeth to the United States ratification of the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Human Rights Conformity Act of 1993. Okay, so this again is also legally binding. All right, it is legally binding. So brothers and sisters, it's a lot of information, man, a lot of information. So you guys cannot say that, you don't know. Okay, you can't say that you were not aware. You can't say that nobody's giving you the information. It's all here. All right, the International Covenant on Rights and Civil. All right, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights was born of the aftermath of World War II, inspired in part by President Roosevelt, called for the establishment of the 4 freedoms throughout the world. The Allies imposed human rights obligations on the conquered Axis powers. These obligations included execution of a charter for the United Nations that placed a special emphasis on universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, the achievement of which and member states must pledge what? To undertake. They must. Again, this is binding. They must, including the United States. So get very familiar with this document right here, okay? And it says that all forms of slavery is prohibited, okay? All forms of slavery is prohibited. So if you're telling me I have to be black and you're forcing me to be black, that's a form of enslavement, okay? So brothers and sisters, man, I'm putting the power back in the hands of we the people, okay? Here we go. All right, this right here is Executive Order 131-13107. That's another one of the executive powers that was mentioned in the feed last night. So once again, I give thanks. Here it is. Okay, Executive Order 13107, implementation of human rights treaties. Again, this is binding. December 10, 1988, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution, the laws of the United States of America, and bearing in mind the obligations of the United States pursuant to International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, which we just went over, okay, the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, CAT, the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, CERD, and the other relevant treaties concerned with the protection and promotion of human rights to which the United States is what? Now or may become a party in the future is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1. Implementation of human rights obligations. A. It shall be the policy and practice of the government of the United States being committed the protection and promotion of human rights and fundamental freedoms fully to respect and implement its obligations under international human rights treaties, which it is a party, okay, including the ICCPR, the CAT, and the CERD. All right, so I'm just showing you again that they are bound, it is binding. Those are covenants that they have to adhere to. So you could use all your documents together. And I'm telling you, man, you have no idea. But I think you're starting to get the point. All right. So all those documents are going to be in the link below. Another one that I came across is 92 pages, but it's very powerful as well. International Covenant on Civil Rights and Political Rights. And that was adopted General Assembly in December 1966. All right. So please, again, do your due diligence. I'm going to put that information in the link below. The states parties to what? The present covenant. Remember, covenant is a contract, okay? That's an agreement. Those are all legally binding. And they have all the dates when all those countries, okay, became a part or a party to, and their signature was affixed. All right, so man, it's powerful information, all right? Powerful information. They have a lot of countries here, Barbados, Jamaica, all these different countries here, man. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. All right. So please go over it. Article 1. All peoples have the right to self-determination again. You see it? Here we go. Self-determination again. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their what? Economic and social men. Listen, even if they don't honor Andre, even if they don't honor a drip, those are legally binding. They have to honor them. They are covenants. All right. So with that being said, man, that's that. I'm going to put all that in the link below. So please, once again, do your due diligence. We just went over that. Okay, so what else we have? I'm going to put that in the link below. I'm just going to go over 2 more documents real quick. Okay, for those of you who call yourself African Americans, okay, the United States apologized for enslaving your ancestors. So you please look it up. I'm going to put in the link as well. Okay, H.res.194. Okay, where the United States, a resolution apologizing for the enslavement of African Americans. But because yes, some of you all are actually African Americans. Okay, if you so choose, that's what you want to be, you have that declaration. Okay, but one thing you have to know is this: your ancestors already got reparations. The slave masters already got reparations. So if you're looking for reparations, you're not going to get it done. Okay, so just so you know, that's going to be in the link as well. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Now we have House Joint Resolution 3, where the United States apologized for what they have done to our ancestors as American Indians or the native people of the land. Okay, so it says H.J.Res.3 to acknowledge a long history of official depredations and ill-conceived policies by the United States government regarding Indian tribes and offer an apology to all native people on behalf of the United States. So they're apologizing. So therefore, that means you are admitting to what you have done. So therefore, we are going to seek redress. Okay? And it says joint resolution to acknowledge a long history of official depredations and ill-conceived policies by the United States government regarding Indian tribes and an apology to all native people on behalf of the United States. Whereas the ancestors of today's native peoples inhabited the land of the present-day United States since time what? Immemorial. For those of you who don't know what immemorial means, let us go look it up. Because once again, we don't want to just leave anything, so that people don't know what we are talking about, right? Let us go look at the definition of immemorial, right? What does it say? Originating in the distant past, very old, ancient, old age, right? Timeless, dateless, archaic, long-standing, long-lived. Those are all synonyms, all right? Synonyms of the word immemorial. So they are telling you, and they are actually acknowledging that we have been here from timeless times, if that is such a thing. You see what I'm saying? And for thousands of years before what? The arrival of what? European people of descent. So now when you go to Noah Webster's 28th dictionary, which we just for studying purposes, for those of you who don't know, let's go look at it. All right. I'm certainly sure you guys know this by now, but we're going to look at Noah's Webster. All right. 1828 dictionary. Okay, let us go look at it. All right, let us go here. So I'm showing you all that to show you now how does that fit in with our oral history, okay, and the apology, and letting you know that we have been here from time immemorial, and in all prehistoric documents and literature and our oral history, we knew we were the first ones here. Okay, so who does this really apply to? It applies to us. But you don't know. The majority of the people, the masses, don't identify as who our ancestors were. Okay, let us look at the definition of American. And that was Noah's Webster's 1828 dictionary, and that was in 1828, right? America, adjective pertaining to what? America. American, a noun. A native of what? America. Originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races. Found here by what? The Europeans, but now applied to what? The descendants of European born in America. Go listen to that conversation with the Cherokee gentleman from the Cherokee tribe. That's exactly what they did. Now the term is being applied to their descendants because they took our place. Brothers and sisters. Anyway, I'm about to wrap this up, all right? Whereas the native peoples have for millennia honored, protected, and stewarded this land we cherish. Whereas the native people are spiritual peoples, not religious, but spiritual peoples with a deep and abiding belief in the Creator. It didn't say God because we didn't call our Creator God, okay? And for millennia, their peoples have maintained a powerful spiritual connection to this land, as is evidenced by what? Their customs and legends. Whereas the arrival of the Europeans in North America opened a new chapter in the histories of native people, whereas while established of permanent European settlements in North America did stir conflict with nearby Indian tribes, peaceful and mutually beneficial interactions also took place, whereas the fundamental English settlement in Jamestown, Virginia, and Plymouth, Massachusetts owed their what survival in large measure to the compassion and aid of what the native people in their vicinities. And I also have a chief who is going to attest to that as an oral history. Okay, when they came, they were hungry, they were shipwrecked, they were cold in the middle of December. And what? In Plymouth, Massachusetts, what did we do? We had compassion, we ate them, we fed them. Okay, they owe us. It's time to pay. Okay, it's time to pay. Whereas in the infancy of the United States, the founders of the Republic expressed their desire for a just relationship with the Indian tribes, as evidenced by the Northwest Ordinance enacted by Congress in 1787. You guys need to go look that up. The Northwest Ordinance enacted by Congress in 1877, which begins with the phrase, "The utmost good faith shall always be observed towards what? The Indians." Okay? The reason why the utmost good faith, okay, is not given to you or observes towards you is because you don't know you are the Indians. And for those of you who know you are the Indians, you are calling yourself Black and African American. So if your grandmother told you, baby, you are an Indian, how come all of a sudden in 2019 you're Black or you're African American? If a dog had a dog 500 years ago, today the dog is still going to be a dog. If a donkey had a donkey 2,000 years ago, today the children of the donkey is still going to be called a donkey. If a horse had horses 300 years ago, today they are going to be called horses. So if our ancestors were called Indians, how in the hell today in 2019 you Black and you African and you everything under the sun except the Indians that they called us? Come on, man. And I'm not getting upset. This is just the passion. The passion. So I'm not going to read any more. All right. I'm going to put that in the link below. I just wanted to go over these documents to let you know these things exist. And that's on our nation's website. Okay. But I will put everything in the link so that you'll have it, so that you could study it. Okay. Get familiar with it because we have a lot of moves to make. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to come back to you guys. You know, I hope you guys appreciated the build. Here we are. So a couple of things, right? I'm about to conclude because it's getting late. I know people got to work, and my family here got to have, some of them have to work as well. So I want to be considerate. Okay. So a couple of things, right? Like we said before, we're gonna plan a march, a walk rather, to Washington. Okay, the tentative date that we'll let you guys know about that. What I need from you guys is this: anyone who is indigenous, okay, and you know that you're an American Indian, and you have a non-profit organization already set up, I would like you to email me. Okay, my email is in the link below. It's very, very important that you do. Okay, if you are indigenous, okay, you're an American Indian, Aboriginal, whatever you want to identify as, okay, we have a right to self-determination, so it's all good. If you have a non-profit organization already established, please send me an email. It's very, very important, okay, because we are about, in fact, not about, we are making history right now, because nobody's telling our story. You see, his story is intertwined in our story. It is up to us to tell our story right now. Okay? So if you have a non-profit organization, send me an email. We got some things to talk about because we are literally creating history right now. Now, I know I had a brother I wanted to bring on as a guest. He's actually on the live feed. I'm not going to do that at this time because, like I said, it's getting late. So we'll have to bring him on at another time, so we could talk about his experiences going to court to show you how all these things are working and how when we apply it, it does work. Okay. So brother, my humble apologies for not bringing you on. We're going to have to do that at another time because, like I said, it's getting late and I just wanted to come and drop this information, to the masses, so that we could start learning how to protect ourselves, to know that we have rights, and to know when the rights that is allocated to the people not applicable to us. It's only not applicable to us when we are calling ourselves Black and African American. Okay, these entities have no rights, no disrespect. When you call yourself that, you're just an entity. You are the walking dead. You don't exist. Okay, but again, you have a right to self-identify. So if you want to be dead in law, that's on you. But I'm here giving you the information out of love. Okay, so I know this right here. Let me just bring this down a little bit. Anyway, but so I'm pretty much wrapping this up. And of course, I mean, I like to break it down, because for me, I think that teaching is there's an art to teaching. Okay, when you teach people anything, for me, from my perspective, I want to make sure they get the information, because I want to be able to make sure that they're able to apply the information to their lives. Okay, this is what all this is about. All right, this is what all this is about. We are actually at a disadvantage in our own land, and something has to change. All right, something has to change, and it's only going to change if we, as a distinct people, make it change. Nobody's going to do it for us, because you see what's happening is it's our energy that's literally building everything. It's our energy that built everything. The United States, in all their declarations, the constitutions, the ordinances, they give us credit for all that who comes into our land, and they are productive. They are successful in every aspect of their lives. But the original Americans, we are here suffering. We are still going through persecution of the colonizers who came to our land hungry, starving, dirty, filthy. And I'm just telling the truth, because it's in their own history books. So they may not like the truth, but hey, it is what it is. Somebody got to tell it in its proper context. You feel me? So at the ending of the day, we have to start telling our story. Okay? Nobody is experiencing or living what we are going through. Nobody knows the separation of our families, the destruction of our people. Our children are walking around the streets with no direction, because the parents don't know who they are. So obviously the children don't know who they are. So they got to learn. Imagine if all the young so-called thugs in the streets know that they are Aborigines, that this is their land. Huh? We got to teach them. We got to guide them. That energy they have, we got to teach them how to harness that energy and put it in a more productive environment. Stop fighting all these turf wars when we have an entire continent that's ours. So with that being said, I thank each and every one of you for being on the feed tonight. You could be anywhere else. So it shows that you are willing to learn, you're willing to grow, you're willing to change. And to me, that's very admirable. I respect that. It's admirable. I mean, I'm honored, okay, to be able to be in a position to bring that information to you. I'm going to tell you again, I don't know it all. I know a lot, but I don't know it all. So therefore, I will never call myself a master teacher. However, I am a master student. I am always willing to learn. Okay? And if I give you any information that may not be correct, and I find out it's not correct or not necessarily correct, it needs some updating or upgrading, I will let you know. Okay? Nah, the book White Cargo could never be debunked. That's their history. That's their story. And I've heard it personally from oral history from their people. Okay, so we ain't got to worry about that. Right now, let us focus on us. Let us learn to love us again. Let us learn to build us again. Let us learn to support us again. Okay? So once again, thank you. I'm going to conclude this video. Before I conclude, I'm going to, somebody asked me, how can they, support? Well, I'm going to put my Cash App in the link. And for those of you who wish to support, it's in the link below. Also, you have the super chat. Okay, so I thank you, for being a part of this build this evening. I'm gonna take some time. Like I said, I'm gonna make sure that all the links are in the video before the night is out. And who knows when the next live is gonna be? But every time I come, I promise you, I will have a treat for you. All right. Don't forget, if you have a nonprofit organization, all right, send me an email because we have some work to do. All right. So love, wholesomeness, light, and positive energy to each and every one of you. I give thanks to the Great Spirit for allowing us to commune this evening. Give thanks to our ancestors. They are shining their lights on us. We ask them for their divine protection. We ask them for their guidance, and anyone or anything that come against us, all right, we know that our ancestors are going to take care of us. They are going to protect us. So we have no reason to be afraid. We should not be afraid of our shadow. Anybody who calls themselves our enemies, they are just our shadows. And let me tell you, the quickest way to get rid of your shadow is how? Turn your light on. Okay? Turn your light on. So let your light shine. Never be afraid of your shadow. Always walk with your flashlight. I walk with mine every single time. Whenever I see that shadow, I never let them scare me. What I do, all right? I turn on my flashlight because my light is always on. Always on. You feel me? My light is always on, baby. You see that? That light is always on. So with that being said, keep your light shining. Don't be afraid of your shadow. You feel me? I love you guys. And we will talk soon. All right? One.